Welcome back. It's time for Media Watch on France 24, and James Creedon has joined me on set with the best out of the international media today. Hi,
That's
James.
right. Good evening, Lana.
We start with the French League Against Racism and Anti-Semitism, known here as the LICRA, who's come out with a provocative video today.
That's right. It was on the top of several of the buzz websites here in France, Le Lab for Europe 1, and a couple of others. Let's take a look, because I think if I explain any more, I'll spoil the surprise. So we'll take a look and have a chat about it afterwards.
He's back.
There you go. He's back. It's like a horror movie. Well, I shouldn't.
It's a bit disturbing.
It is. So it's like her taking off her mask and Dad is underneath. I mean, all sorts of Freudian readings of things could be done there. But quite simply, put simply, it means the party hasn't changed. She might be blonde and you know, more attractive than her father.
She's a more charismatic face for the party.
That's right.
She's actually done pretty well as a leader.
And has tried to give a more moderate face to the far right. But as the spokesman or the president of LICRA pointed out to the Le Lab website, he said, you know, this isn't against Marine Le Pen specifically, it's against the far-right Front National party. Racist elements still exist in the party, and there is still nostalgia for the Vichy regime, which is synonymous with
collaboration with the Nazis.
That's right. So his way of saying, we ain't fooled, Front National is Front National
All
is
right,
Front
so
National.
No matter who the leader is, the far-right ideas are still there, and beware, basically.
That's right. So those sort of viral videos working well, it's certainly a good way of getting their message out to the broader public.
We're moving to Syria next, and Facebook has become a tool for Bashar al-Assad's regime there to fight back opposition activists.
That's right. So I suppose if it's been a tool for revolutionaries, a way of, you know, centralizing their ideas and communicating, it's also now a tool for the counter-revolution. And this isn't new. This is since last May.
Part of the battle's really taking place online, really.
That's right. And so these pictures such as this, Lan, have been appearing on Facebook since last May. And just to explain what they are, they're pro-Assad propaganda, essentially. So you can see here,
so a knight in shining armor,
right, facing off against the US, against Britain, against Israel, like loads of flags there, even Turkey and Germany. Moving further down, you can see the attempt also to appeal to minorities, lots of minorities in Syria here. Jesus Christ, I suppose, on playing on the same side as Bashar al-Assad, it appears, well, at least from their point of view. And Assad, I learned this afternoon, means lion.
In Arabic, absolutely.
So here he is in sort of Narnia mode with Leo the lion in the background.
Mode, I love it.
With Leo the lion in the background. So lots of different examples of that, and they're arm wrestling Uncle Sam. So this article, very interesting piece actually, pointing out how the propaganda movement is taking place online.
These are interesting. This is the first time I've seen these.
That's right. And apparently, officials of the Assad regime are trying to identify revolutionaries using Facebook, and also then trying to get their message out with pictures such as this.
Surely there's a thesis somewhere to be written about those.
A nice multimedia one.
With the 100th anniversary of the Titanic's sinking coming up tomorrow, websites have really been looking back at that disaster.
That's right. And I suppose 100 years on, you would think maybe people can start to take a slightly different look at things. But this isn't even totally new. It's about how marketing has used the image of the sinking Titanic over the last 100 years. A little bit cynical, really, you'd have to say.
So it's really seeped into pop culture, basically?
Absolutely. And if you take a look at this one here, it's for, surprise, surprise, a waterproof paint. If the Titanic had used this, it wouldn't have happened, blah, blah, blah. Moving further down, similar idea. This was an ad in Italy in, I think it was 2007, for a sort of marine waterproof sealant. Moving further down again, Post-it got on the bandwagon, saying, gone to take a leak. keep an eye on the hem, please, or on the stern. So there you go. I suppose punning on the word leak. That's right. So perhaps maybe not in very good taste always, but it shows the way in which this is just such the image of the Titanic sinking. It's just one tragedy amongst many, 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 many tragedies, but it's one that is so present in the public consciousness that it's
the image is still very powerful, basically.
Exactly.
And finally, today's Friday the 13th, and depending on your point of view, depending on your culture, that can be either lucky or unlucky.
That's right. I was very surprised when I moved to France to find out that people played the lotto on Friday the 13th and thought it was a great idea, and instead of losing all their money, they'd win money. Exactly. So here, even on the Belgian media, RTL in Belgium, they're talking about how on Friday the 13th, on that week, you see 50% increases in the number of people who play the lotto, and often an increased prize money. In Libération, they point out that it's a particularly Friday the 13th heavy year this year. There are 3 Friday the 13ths this year. The next one is going to be on the 14th of July, or the 13th of July. Because, of course, it's always on the 13th. And
I was going to say something,
right, that you might have missed out on something. So they're pointing out that between the end of the world being predicted by the Mayan calendar, 3 Friday the 13th, global crisis and all of that, enough already. They're kind of saying, really, this year is just laden with bad luck. So one place to go for a little bit of respite from all of this is Gawker website. This video of a corgi being vacuumed is guaranteed to ward off evil spirits. I don't think so, but let's take a look anyway and see. Yeah.
Oh, the dog really seems to be enjoying that.
Right. I think that's there is no link really. I think Gawker and us here, we just wanted to get it in.
Good video.
Right. Warding off evil spirits, vacuumed corgis everywhere.
Thanks very much. I hope everyone watching us will have a better Friday the 13th. Thanks to you, James Creedon.
Thanks, Lana.
That was Media Watch on France 24. And do stay tuned. Up next is this evening's web news, and we round up the top internet content of this week.
Bahraini activist Abdul Hadi Al-Khawaja has now been on hunger strike for over 2 months in protest of the life sentence he received for his role in the anti-government unrest that began last year. And with Bahrain turning down a request to transfer Al-Khawaja, who also holds Danish citizenship, to Denmark, there's growing concern over his health, which appears to be deteriorating. His daughter Zainab was briefly arrested on 2 occasions last week as she tried to visit him. She eventually managed to speak to him on the telephone and has posted a message on Twitter claiming her father is now having difficulty breathing. And he says he's being mistreated by security guards and staff at the military hospital where he's receiving care. Shia opposition activists continue to stage protests against the ruling Sunni royal family and are also rallying to the cause of Abdul Hadi Al-Khawaja. Hundreds of demonstrators waved pictures of him in towns and cities across Bahrain last Friday, calling for his release and demanding political reforms. Protesters are now lobbying the International Automobile Federation to cancel the Bahrain Grand Prix, due to be held on the 22nd of April. The race, which has always been a source of national pride, was cancelled last year due to the uprising and ruthless repression. Last month, American NGO Invisible Children launched an online campaign against Ugandan war criminal Joseph Kony, who's accused, amongst other things, of recruiting child soldiers. The campaign revolves around a mini-documentary that struck the hearts of millions of web users. But the film was also highly criticised for oversimplifying the situation in Uganda. The NGO is trying to respond to the criticism in a new video which was posted online last week. The follow-up film gives the floor to local officials and decision-makers to help paint a more detailed picture of the current context. The documentary specifies that Joseph Kony is no longer in Uganda, that there are now only a few hundred or so men remaining in his rebel group, the Lord's Resistance Army, but the attacks continue, nonetheless, in the Democratic Republic of Congo, South Sudan and the Central African Republic. The video also highlights what the viral campaign has already achieved, starting with a resolution by the African Union to deploy 5,000 soldiers to track down Joseph Kony. The sequel doesn't appear to be enjoying the same level of success as the first film, which was viewed tens of millions of times on the web in just a few days. But Invisible Children is planning a day of action on the 20th of April to give the campaign a boost. The NGO is hoping to bring the virtual campaigning into the real world and is asking people to put up Kony 2012 posters around their neighbourhoods. Violent clashes erupted on Wednesday between Chinese riot police and the thousands of protesters gathered in Wansheng, a district of the city of Chongqing in central western China. The demonstrations had begun the previous day, shortly after the announcement Bo Xilai had been suspended from Chinese Communist Party leadership. But it would seem the recent protests have nothing to do with the fall of the city's former strongman, who's involved in a political scandal currently engulfing China. Residents are apparently protesting the merger of Wansheng with a neighbouring district. They feel this administrative decision has affected local economy and has led to a reduction in social and welfare benefits. All search terms associated with these riots were soon blocked on social networks, but photos reportedly taken by eyewitnesses have found their way online. Images which illustrate the scale of the mobilisation and also the level of violence involved in clashes with security forces, which it would appear had been deployed en masse to restore order to Wansheng. And the local authorities are trying to allay people's concerns. The Chongqing government has responded to demands made by residents of Wansheng by announcing a series of measures via its website, whilst at the same time warning them against fresh protests. The famous Fender brand has produced this viral video using the time-lapse technique and showing all the steps involved in making an electric guitar. So, in just over 4 minutes, you learn all about the fabrication methods used to produce the legendary rock instrument.
Watch all of France 24 on France24.com. All of France 24 in French, English and Arabic on France24.com.